Hey everybody, I hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Michales Matters. Now today, as we are, I guess we could call it on the back half of 2023, sliding down into what is going to be a very hectic 2024, I want to take a look at some of the big changes that will potentially happen in 2024 that will affect a lot of folks who are receiving Social Security benefits. So that could be anything from Social Security Retirement, Social Security Disability SSDI, survivors, spousal support, as well as Supplemental Security Income or SSI, and really all the other iterations of Social Security. Some of these things, well, they are going to happen for sure. That is certain. Some of the other things are things that may happen or may not happen. And some of them are things that are probably going to happen, but we're not sure about how much at the moment. So today, I'm putting together a list of a couple things that I am really definitely watching for 2024 that could have big effects on our older friends, our older neighbors, and our older family members who are receiving Social Security benefits next year. Now, this is Michales Matters, and before we get to the video, if you like these videos, if you find them interesting, if you find them helpful, or hey, if you at least find them useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way, you can get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. All right, now, let's get down to the video. All right, so first things up today is going to be one that I think is going to have a real outsized role in folks' lives who are on Social Security or even near retirement age, is going to be the COLA for next year. Now that we are in July, we are actually in the beginning of the sampling month of when Social Security begins to calculate the COLA for next year in 2024. So that is the months of July, August, and September. It is these 3 months where Social Security will look at what is the rate of the CPIW or the rate of inflation and create the COLA based upon that information. Last year at this time, inflation was at an astounding rate of 8.5%, and in June, that was 2022, it had reached the highest point at 9.1%. Right now in 2023 for May, which is the most recent month that we have for inflation numbers, May is at just around 4% from the previous year worth of inflation. What this ultimately means is that unless there is some sort of really crazy inflation creating event like there was last year, maybe the Ukrainian war or supply issues, etc., the COLA in 2024 is going to be much, much smaller. And if you want to know exactly what it is, I actually don't know what it is. No one knows what it is, but I do have a prediction coming out a little bit later this month when we get the newest information to factor in there, but nobody will actually know what the number will be until October when that does come out. That is the first big change for next year, and this is one for sure. This is one that's going to happen for sure, since there's no way the COLA is going to increase at the same rate as it did last year. Our next up is a topic that is likely going to reemerge in 2024, especially as we get into campaigning season for the elections, which is going to be an increase in taxes to pay for Social Security from rich Americans. Now, this is sort of obvious because despite all the back and forth and the proposals from Republicans and Democrats and the projection of Social Security running out of enough money to pay for its full benefits, it is still continuing on a downward spiral. There actually hasn't been too much being changed. To that point, the most recent Social Security Trust Fund report came out and mentioned that they would not be able to cover the full cost of Social Security benefits by as early as 2029 if nothing is done. The solution that was proposed earlier this year and likely will make a very big reappearance next year, at least as a band-aid to this whole problem, which is to raise taxes. And to raise taxes on folks who are making an income that is above $400,000 a year. The way this would work comes down to how Social Security is funded, because Social Security taxes are paid out from a person's paycheck. It's the primary reason why when we get our paychecks, the amount of money in our pockets looks very, very different for the amount of money that looks on our paycheck. But wealthy Americans, it doesn't actually work out the same way. That's because right now, only the first $160,200 worth of employment income gets taxed for Social Security. For most of us, that would mean that all of our money gets taxed. But for those folks who do make over that amount, the rest of the money that they make over that doesn't get taxed for Social Security. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the average income for an American right now on a yearly basis is around $71,000 a year. The Social Security tax that we all pay is at 12.4% in total, but it's split up between the employer and the employee, that's us. So that means that we end up paying 6.2% out of our paychecks. This means that the average American family with that income would pay $4,402 yearly into the Social Security payroll tax. For an above average family, though, let's say they are making right at that max amount, that $160,000 a year worth of income, they would be paying $9,932 a year. And lastly, if we look at an uber wealthy family, an uber wealthy person making $1 million a year, but because of the cap at $160,200 a year, those folks making $1 million a year, they're going to pay the same amount as the $160,000 a year at $9,932. So obviously there's a big discrepancy in how much each person is paying as a percentage of their total overall income. Now, I don't know exactly what the right amount should be, but the argument from Democrats like President Biden to some degree, and to a larger degree, Senator Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and the like, is that $160K is just not enough. And in fact, it should be moved up to include all income to be taxed for Social Security, no matter how much money somebody makes, or at least as it is drawn back by President Biden to people who are making $400,000 or more. Although this idea of increasing the Social Security tax has been on the back burner during the debt ceiling fight earlier this year, and probably will be for the later half of this year. As we get into next year, I really think that it's going to kind of show back up in 2024 as campaigning and all that kind of stuff happens, and politicians are looking for ways to solve, or at least to sound like they're solving, the Social Security issue. So I think it's going to be a big issue here. Now, last thing up, for a big thing to keep an eye on, a big change for 2024, is actually kind of split into two camps. One is that there is an aspect of it that will absolutely happen, and then there's an aspect of it that may happen, and that is the retirement age will increase. Let's talk about the absolute one first. This is no secret, but it is something to consider for anyone who is near retirement, is that the age for someone who can retire in 2024 is going to go up. Now, it's not going up a lot, like is currently being proposed by some of the Republicans, but we'll get to that one in a sec. But way back in 1983, under President Ronald Reagan, there were amendments made to Social Security that would raise the retirement age from 65 years old, like it had initially been set back in 1935 under the original Social Security Act. It is moving up to 67 years old. Most people didn't even feel it or really even notice it because it was set over a period of 22 years, with an 11-year break while it sits at the level of 67 years old, where it will be here shortly. Now, aside from that, for people who are turning the full retirement age in 2024, the FRA is going to go up to 66 years old and 10 months. That is up from 66 years old and 8 months this year. So that is the age change that will definitely happen. But the less sure age change is an actual increase in Social Security retirement age, potentially up to the age of 69 or even maybe 70 years old, which would be implemented in its current form to people who are going to be 62 years old in 2033. So if we do the basic math there, that's 10 years. That would mean that folks right now who are 52 years old. Now, this is an idea that is being bandied around by the Republican House group, who is putting the idea forward as a way to alleviate some of the financial pressure on Social Security Retirement Trust Fund and not have to raise taxes. Republicans. But the likelihood of something like this actually getting implemented with the way that everything is set, that's going to be questionable. Now, overall, it looks like over the next 6 months, there are going to be the beginning of a very wild ride, at least for folks on Social Security benefits, or for folks who may eventually be on Social Security benefits, including myself, because there are a lot of wild ideas floating around there, and I imagine we will even see even crazier ones come out as we get into the thick of the campaigning season. Of the three, most likely to least likely that's going to happen is going to be that the COLA is probably going to be smaller. I think that is fair enough to say that we are far enough into the year to really assume that's going to be the case. The Social Security retirement age will increase for sure, at least a few months. And, really the likelihood of having a big increase is probably going to be low, if not impossible, because, well, the Republicans only have 1/3 of the legislative branch in their control, and Democrats in the White House would, never really let that slide. More likely, but still a pretty long shot, is the raising of what can be taxed on payroll for Social Security. That one I think is more likely to actually get implemented, but also still pretty far out for happening. And also for most of us, I see the demographics in the YouTube, it's probably not going to affect us. So I don't think that that's really going to happen because of the same reason, but on the inverse, Democrats only have 2/3 of the legislative branches, and Republicans raising taxes is kind of a no-no. So I think that one is least likely as well. But the future is not known, and my Magic 8 Ball does not have a Social Security setting on it, so I will be keeping an eye on these to really see how they change and how they morph and where they end up going into the next year. All right, so that's it for today's Michaels Matters, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, if you found it interesting, if you found it helpful, or hey, if you at least found it useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it does really help the channel to grow, and we are so thankful for that. But also, you get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. So for Michaels Matters, I'm Michael, hoping that you take care of yourself, take care of others, and have a happy, healthy day.